have been chosen.
What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 rumors in zombies history that just didn't end up being true. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and make sure you have notifications on to stay up to date with everything going on in Cold War Year 2, Warzone, Modern Warfare 2, and any other future Call of Duty as well. Now, also as a heads up for zombies fans, the Juggernaut beanies I've been talking about for the last few weeks have now been moved over to eBay. It was more beneficial for the seller to have them on there instead of Amazon. Be sure to pick them up before they're gone. They're very authentic Juggernaut style beanie hats. He actually sent me one for free, which is very kind of him, and be sure to pick them up to prepare for the winter. They're some of the best looking beanies I've seen ever sold in the zombies community. Now keep in mind, I put together this list thanks to your help over on Twitter and Discord when I asked you guys to list some of your favorite zombies rumors that just didn't end up panning out. It could be anything from Easter eggs, story, quest, from every Treyarch zombies iteration to date, World at War to Black Ops Cold War. Do remember though, this is a subjective list, so if you guys disagree with anything that I mentioned in the top 10, feel free to put a respectful comment down below in the comments, and I may end up putting out a follow-up video to this one talking more about what you guys recommended in the comment section. But I do have an honorable mention list that I'll be talking about after we do number 1, because there are quite a few things that didn't make it to the top 10 but are still worth mentioning for the subject of this video. But starting off with number 10, the ability to get a guaranteed ray gun from the mystery box by shooting it 3 to 5 times, laying prone, and doing a 360. This is something that I heard about quite a bit back during Keenan or Toten on Black Ops 1. It may have been a rumor that sparked up during like the World at War days very early on, but this is again some of the earlier days of Call of Duty Zombies content on YouTube, which is where I really heard about this the most. And I do understand that people out there did this method and then got a ray gun completely by coincidence and then used that footage to serve as proof that you could get a guaranteed ray gun every single time. There were often times where I did that and got a ray gun or a thunder gun, even monkey bombs, and I always figured that this was actually a method to getting some type of special item or a special wonder weapon, but it was just a coincidence that ended up being one of the funniest zombies rumors in history. Now coming in at number 9, we have the Hitler round 100 boss fight. To my understanding, this was a rumor that stretched across 3 different round-based maps. We have Nocturne and Toten, Der Reese, and Keenan or Toten. So if I remember correctly, there were people out there that just were very good at doctoring videos back in the day, similar to that Modern Warfare 2 old lady Easter egg video, which almost looked believable but obviously was fake. People out there have put out videos showing what appeared to be a Hitler zombie model that was found across different round-based zombies maps, and the rumor was that he would be a boss in some of the higher rounds if you made it that far, but obviously that just wasn't the case. There has never been such thing as a Hitler zombie boss fight unless it's a custom map or some other zombies game that isn't Call of Duty. Activision never had interest in bringing Hitler into the COD Zombies mode, and probably for obvious reasons. Now with today's political climate, I also highly doubt we'll ever get a Hitler boss fight of any sort in a COD Zombies experience. I think it's worth remembering that in any Call of Duty game that is focused on World War II or the Nazis, we never really get to see any depiction of Hitler whatsoever, and that's probably a good thing. Now coming in at number 8, we have some of my all-time favorite rumors also on Keenan or Toten, and that is the secret ladder that apparently can come down if you do something on the map or make it to a high enough round, which will allow you to escape the Theater of the Damned, as well as that safe that is kind of just sitting there in the wall, which would make people believe that there was a boss in there. I remember seeing some earlier videos on COD Zombies YouTube back in like 2010 or 11 that apparently the Cyber Silverback from Dead Ops Arcade was sitting in that safe and would appear either on a higher round or after doing a certain Easter egg on the map to trigger that, and neither of those rumors ended up being true. But what's funny is that somebody out there back in the old days had NoClip on PC and actually put himself on that balcony where that ladder is and noticed that there are no support beams on that balcony, meaning that it was never intended for you to be up there to begin with. You can't actually stand there and move around. You would fall right through. So there was no Easter egg ever relating to that ladder, and you can also notice how the ladder is bolted to the wall. But in terms of that safe, there's also nothing behind that safe, but on the remaster of Kino, things obviously look a little bit different here in this room, but further confirmation that the Cyber Silverback was never present here on the Theater of the Damned. But coming in at number 7, we have the secret door or escape route on Ascension, and this one's funny because this one really sparked up some controversy right after the very first Easter egg in COD Zombies history was solved, and that's the one here on Ascension. I think Ascension has a really interesting main quest. It's short, it's simple, it doesn't even have an achievement once you complete it. People out there there did think though that there was more than meets the eye with this quest upon completing it, right? When you do beat the Ascension Easter egg, you get a 90-second death machine. So the conspiracy at the time was that you would take this death machine somewhere around the map and shoot something with it, and you'd have to shoot it long enough so that it would trigger a secret ending, an escape route, something along those lines. People out there speculated that this specific door on Ascension would open, leading you to a secret fourth lander. Now, at the time when Ascension came out, people didn't really have the story put together that well yet, but you'll notice that when you spawn in on Ascension, you spawn in on a lander, and in the official COD Zombies timeline, which released many years later, it's confirmed that we had found another lander over at Kino and took that to Ascension. But I guess at the time in 2011, it was assumed that we would then take a lander to leave Ascension to go to our next map, but it's revealed in the timeline that Gersh is the one that sends us through space and time over into Call of the Dead. And maybe because there wasn't an achievement for beating the Ascension quest, people assumed that there had to be more, and maybe there was a secret achievement you would unlock somehow, but that also never existed, and unfortunately was never included in the Zombies Chronicles version of Ascension, which in my opinion should have had an achievement for beating the Easter egg. So coming in at number 6, it's probably one of your favorites. We have Transit Bus Route B and the Transit Horse. So starting with Bus Route B, according to insiders out there who had knowledge of early builds of Transit, there were going to be 2 different bus routes on this map, and if you look at the map in the spawn room, you could see that there are indeed 2 bus routes that were going to be on Green Run, but only one made it to the final build. Now, another image popped up a couple of months ago depicting what appears to be the bus coming from a different direction on town, which indicates that a bus route B may have actually existed at one point in time for earlier builds of the map, but that obviously didn't make the final cut, probably because of hardware limitations and time constraints at the time. Now, the popular theory at the time was that bus route B will lead you to the Hanford site, which is Nuketown Zombies, considering you can hear the transit bus horn when you play Nuketown Zombies, and I think that led people to believe that there was actually more than meets the eye with that map, and there was a reason that you were able to hear that horn on Nuketown Zombies after all. I think people also speculated that maybe the nav card Easter egg, once it was solved after all DLCs came out, would allow you to unlock this additional bus route when you go back to Transit. But we also have the Transit Horse. This is something that I think was very funny back in the day.
But it also distracts you from this right here, which I find very interesting. The guy and a horse, right? A guy and a horse. Any idea what they're there for? Give me some comments. Love to hear what you think. These horses in Black Ops 2. Here's the electric strike.
I want you to listen to that again. A guy and a horse.
Guy and a horse.
And I'm not sure where he really got this from. I don't really understand how he saw a horse, but then ironically, when the map came out, there is a horse stable right near the spawn room, so it made us think that there is indeed a horse somewhere around the map that you could unlock, and it would be an easier way to travel around the map besides using the bus. And then I think people out there started to speculate that James C. Burns maybe accidentally leaked the idea of a transit horse, or leaked the concept of it when he wasn't supposed to. They had people hunting on the map for months, when in the end, there just wasn't a horse after all. Now, coming in at number 5, we have the giant Easter egg ending cutscene. This one is funny because people out there just couldn't accept that there wasn't anything but the Annihilator quest on that map, and I think it was very clear when Black Ops 3 came out that yes, Shadows of Evil, which is a very complex experience that's meant for some hardcores, not for the faint of heart, at least not right away, whereas the giant was that simple round-based experience that just happened to have a small Easter egg on it. And it also wasn't until the tracker got added to Black Ops 3 Zombies, showing you which Easter eggs you had completed, that people finally realized that doing the Annihilator gave you an Easter egg completion for that map that would then later be used to get your super Easter egg reward over on Revelations. But this got clickbaited quite a bit in the YouTube scene. People out there truly believed that there was more to do on the giant, dealing with the trap, dealing with some of the teleporters. There just wasn't anything else to do on the map, but it was rumor that persisted for quite some time. But coming in at number 4, we have the coin over on Blood of the Dead. I think Black Ops 4 Zombies was a very interesting experience, to the point where there was QA testers that apparently were fired that came out on Reddit to say, hey, these Easter eggs are solved, these aren't, and the coin was amongst one of the secrets that apparently had not been solved on Blood of the Dead. And interestingly enough, very recently on Greg FPS's Zombie stream, we had the expert designer Kevin Drew over at Treyarch, who was in his chat and said that the coin actually didn't do anything on Blood of the Dead, but was apparently part of like a scrapped or just unfinished Easter egg that meant nothing on the map. Now, another big reason why people thought thought the coin did something is because the coin actually is not there over on custom mutations. Right here in the brew machine, the coin just isn't there. So usually custom mutations is an indicator that something is an Easter egg or isn't. If it's present on the regular version of the map but not custom mutations, then it's supposed to mean something, but unfortunately this just wasn't the case. But now we have at number 3 another one of my all-time favorites, a super Easter egg ending on Revelations, where you fight Dr. Monty, where you get an alternate ending. Revelations was a very controversial map at the time. In case you guys don't remember, the Easter egg took quite a bit to solve, probably because of all the obscure steps that didn't really make much sense, and the hunt lasted almost a week. And you can argue that that's good for the zombies community. It helps boost the performance of the map and it allows streamers to do well for a consistent number of days, sure, but after that ending got solved, people expected the second coming of Christ, almost a full-fledged movie from that ending. When they didn't get that, people out there were very disappointed. And I remember rumors like, oh, you gotta put the Ragnaroks in the Kino teleporter, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, things that just didn't end up panning out to anything. But I think if you were a story expert of any sort at the time, you would have realized that Revelations truly marks the end of the cycle, and that's it. I think the whole purpose of Black Ops 3 is just reiterating what the cycle is and where it starts, where it ends. So that's all Revelations really did, was it showed you the end of the cycle if it had never been broken. Now there was also that ether marketing they released for Black Ops 3, and I think one of the trailers had a very small frame showing the Shadow Man killing Richtofen on Revelations. So there were more theories speculating at the time that there was an alternate ending where you actually work with the Shadow Man, you get Richtofen killed, and possibly use all of that to then maybe fight Dr. Monty, or something along those lines. There were definitely a lot of theories that you can break the cycle in Revelations, even though that wasn't something that would be explored until Black Ops 4 Zombies. Now there was also an Easter egg that never really panned out to anything in Revelations, dealing with chicken bait. So we all know about the spider bait Easter egg on Zetsubo no Shima. Well, earlier builds of Revelations apparently had a chicken bait, allowing you to play as a chicken, similar to how you would play as a spider on Zetsubo, and it was apparently the same chicken that we had on Dead Ops Arcade. There was even an icon data mine from how the chicken bait would look in your HUD, but it also ended up being a scrapped Easter egg, which may have been connected to the eggs you could see at spawn on Revelations, which also didn't end up panning out to anything. Now coming in at number 2, we have Black Ops 4 Zombies and the super Easter egg rumors. So everybody is fully aware by this point, I'm assuming, that there were a bunch of secret doors across every round-based map that looked like they were able to be opened, and people out there that no-clip through them noticed that they were very suspicious doors, suspicious rooms that seemed like there was something tied to them. We even had one of those leakers or former QA testers that claimed that there was indeed going to be a super Easter egg allowing you to open each of these doors across every round-based map after doing all the main quests, and inside of these rooms would be maybe a perkaholic or some points, a pack-a-punch weapon, something along those lines to reward you for doing all Easter eggs. Now we also assume because the game actually tracked all your Easter egg completions, it was assumed that, yeah, they tracked them for a reason because they wanted you to know how close you were to unlocking that super Easter egg. But funny enough, Black Ops 4 Zombies is the only recent iteration of the mode to not feature a super Easter egg of any sort. Now World at War obviously doesn't count, but every iteration of Zombies since Black Ops 1, including the iterations from Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer, have had a super Easter egg reward of some kind for completing all of the main quests. So this made people think that there was more than meets the eye with the tag or toe and ending. People out there just didn't want to believe they had to go to round 150 on Classified just to get a completion at the main menu, just to get nothing in the end. Not even a sticker, when you did a gauntlet, at least in Black Ops 4 Zombies, you'd get a sticker of some kind, and it made people think that maybe there was at least something you can get for doing everything, but in the end, there just wasn't. Now, if Treyarch's budget didn't get cut halfway through Black Ops 4, and if they didn't have to work on COD 2020, then maybe they would have incorporated something into Black Ops 4 Zombies for doing all the Easter eggs, even just a calling card or a simple sticker, kind of similar to how Cold War gives you something for doing all the quests, even if it's something minor. Maybe Treyarch just ran out of time with Black Ops 4 to the point where they just had to move on to their next Call of Duty project. But now, last and definitely not least, coming in at number 1, we have Zombies Chronicles 2. Now you could say, oh DK, you made so many videos in 2019 about this Chronicles 2 rumor, you are at fault for building up so much hype for this map pack. You could say that, sure, but as I mentioned countless times before, there was nothing really going on in 2019, early 2020, to the point where the Chronicles 2 rumors were very fun to talk about. But what's worth mentioning is that the rumors were so hot at the time because of the reliable leakers that were claiming such information. The same leakers that had come out and reported very accurate info about MW 2019, Warzone, even Black Ops Cold War, were the same people saying that a Chronicles 2 actually existed for Black Ops 4 and was apparently going to be moved to COD 2020 because of the poor reception of Black Ops 4, but that also never ended up happening. Now, aside from the word of mouth from these insiders, leakers, and scoopers, I think it's worth mentioning that the evidence was right there in front of us within Black Ops 4, whether it was all these assets that were in Zombies that obviously were from Victus Victus maps, whether it was the entirety of Buried being inside of Blackout, or whether it was a bunch of Victus assets and even Green Run being within multiplayer. I think it was worth mentioning that if you didn't want to believe the leakers, gaming insiders, or the scoopers at the time, you could at least look at the remastered Victus assets all across Black Ops 4 and come to an understanding that all that could be ported into Zombies to bring us new iterations of Transit, Die Rise, and Buried, let alone Victus being a playable crew inside of Tagger Toten. And then the other rumor at the time, which was that in between Alpha Omega and Tagger Toten, we would have the 3 Victus maps where it kind of explains where Victus was right before Tag. It could explain story-wise that they had to go back to the 3 Victus maps to maybe charge up the towers again, but for Richthofen this time, since the Maxis ending was the canon one in Black Ops 2, and then because of overcharging Richthofen that would allow us to defeat Dr. Monty in the final map. There were some crazy rumors at the time, but I shall remind you, I'm not a leaker by any means. I was just very excited about the topic because it was something that I think would have made a lot of sense in Black Ops 4, and it's something that would also make sense business-wise considering how successful the first Zombies Chronicles was. Now, I do believe a Chronicles 2 will happen at some point in the future in some way, shape, or form. I don't think Black Ops Cold War was the game where Victus remakes would have fit, but I think if they do a standalone Zombies game one day where it has all classic maps remastered in HD in the Modern Warfare engine, that's where a quote-unquote Chronicles 2 would probably make the most sense. And I remember the rumors that, oh, we would even get faithful versions of 5, of Nuketown, Call of the Dead, and even maybe Mob of the Dead, since in Black Ops 4 we got remakes of those maps, not faithful remasters. So that could always happen one day. However, as of right now, there has been no update regarding said map pack. Now, although that is my top 10 list, here are some honorable mentions, which you guys also recommended to me, and these are also some that I thought of myself. First off, in Black Ops 1, knifing the mini power panel in your quick revive in the first room of Kino would up the drop rate of power-ups. And this one was funny. I remember doing this every single time I booted up Kino to Toten, but it didn't end up amounting to anything, and it was just an interesting animation you would get from destroying the power box where you would see a spark of electricity. Now, over in Black Ops 2, there was a rumor that the nav cards were going to link all Victus maps together, allowing you to play one big match of round base where you can teleport from each map in a single game alone. Now, that's probably something that would have worked better on current gen hardware, definitely not last gen PS3 or 360, but NGT Zombies a couple of years ago did say that apparently the original plan for the nav cards was to do such a thing where it would link all maps together, allowing you to play one big match of Zombies with all those Victus maps linked. Now, that would have been interesting, but I do wonder how stability would have worked on a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360. It probably would have been tragic at the time, considering the hardware limitations and time constraints during development. But then in Black Ops 3, we had the Apothicon Servant upgrade rumors. Now, this one is interesting because this one actually wasn't really that much of a rumor, but more along the lines of something that was scrapped, and there was proof of that. So people out there that have early builds of Black Ops 3 or have put together programs to look at all unsolved Easter eggs or all quests on a zombie map, they went on Shadows and found there was a Cocoon Easter egg allowing you to get a second Apothicon Servant. Now, what's also weird though is that in early builds of Shadows of Evil, you were also able to pack-a-punch the Apothicon Servant. So clearly there was more than what we got in the final build of Shadows that was meant for the Apothicon Servant Wonder Weapon. And we had somebody like Noah J456 who streamed that hunt countless times to the point where he then interviewed Jason Blundell at some point, in which Jason then debunked the idea of a second Apothicon Servant or an Apothicon Servant upgrade. This obviously crushed Noah's dreams. But to wrap this up, we have some funny ones on Cold War Zombies, which I think are worth mentioning just for shits and giggles. Hudson being the director, because apparently Hudson invented CIA dress attire. He invented t-shirts and ties. We have a rumor about Spusk Stally being DLC 3 for round-based. That was a very interesting one that also didn't amount to anything, but it was a rumor floating around for quite some time. And I think that also tied into the idea that Kino was going to be a part of Mauer Toten. That also didn't end up happening. There was then a rumor that Mauer was going to be the final round-based map in Cold War, but then another round-based map after that was being saved for the launch period of Vanguard Zombies. That also was completely false. We had the beautiful map Forsaken, which I think perfectly rounded up the round-based experiences in Cold War. But then lastly, the idea that we were going to get Victus remakes through battle passes. I'm not kidding. There was a rumor that apparently there would be 100 tier zombie passes released throughout the Cold War Zombie cycle, and that tier 100 of those passes would feature a Victus remake. So I'm not sure if that meant you had to go through all 100 tiers to get that map, or maybe you could buy it all out for $100 and get tier 100 right away to play a Transit remake. I don't know how silly that would have looked, but that also ended up being completely false for Black Ops Cold War. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the top 10 rumors that didn't end up amounting to anything in Call of Duty Zombies? And also, what are your thoughts on all the honorable mentions? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.